Use the gavel. All righty. Well, this is the July 2020 meeting of the Oconee County Public Library Board of Trustees. And shall we get underway? We will call this to order. So the first thing to do is to, I hope everybody's had the chance to examine the minutes from the May meeting. Are there any issues or concerns or worries or typos?
I didn't see
Nope.
any.
Nope. Okay, can I get somebody to move to accept the minutes?
I so move.
Second? Second? Okay, the motion is carried. And let's see, now, do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am, I did not receive any comment via email or phone, and we don't have anybody here.
Okay, so there's no public comment. I take it that we don't have a friends report?
Actually, I do have a little bit of information. As you all know, they have not had a book sale, since the real beginning of the pandemic. I do have the January, February, and March sale figures. January sales, $760 for the first sale. The Saturday sale at the end of the month was $771. The February sale was $638, and the March sale was $1,151.
Wow.
So of course there was no March, April, May. Well, there was a March sale, but then there was also supposed to be two in April. We did not have those. No May, no, June. We do not anticipate, I have spoken with Gene Mercer, the Friends president. We don't anticipate one probably for the rest of the year. They are looking for alternatives, ways to try and raise money. They have resumed the lobby sales in the Walhalla lobby. Those are pretty much all $3 books, so they are bringing in a little income from that. But and they are still selling books down at M. Tannery and Sons, which is on Ramcat Alley. They've got a small area where they sell books, and then they've also got some of the vendors to allow them to place books within their nook, within their particular little display or whatever. So they are selling some that way. But obviously our income from the Friends is going to be down a good bit. We don't really anticipate very much from the second half of the year. But Gene Mercer, the president, is working on some alternative ways of doing fundraising. She is out trying to solicit donors for individual projects. Maybe she can get a donation for this project or for that project. So she is trying to, solicit some donations for particular projects, particular things that we might need, say for youth services, or that kind of thing. So they are going to try and keep going with what they can do. Volunteers have been coming and trying to sort books in the basement with the anticipation of maybe trying to do some kind of maybe a drive-up sale, like just have bags and people will drive up and give them, grab bag, $5 bag or $2 bag or whatever. They are trying to come up with alternative ways to raise money. They are still, some of them volunteering and working in the basement. We really haven't had some of our regular volunteers come in since all this began, because a lot of them are older and do not want to be, out in public very much. But they have had a few of the Friends coming and working in the basement, trying to sort, trying to do what they can. And then, like I said, they are looking for alternative ways to raise money. So they are working on some of those projects right now, but just we don't anticipate a book sale probably for the rest of the year.
They might want to contact Mr. Kay's in Greenville, and because they're a well-known local used bookstore.
Right.
And there's also, I think it's 27th and Charles, it's just up the road from Mr. Kay's. Maybe they could, work with them on getting titles that Mr. Kay's particularly wants, or 27th and Charles particularly wants. Or perhaps set up like a little bookshelf in a thrift store, like Salvation Army or Habitat for Humanity or whatever, set up like a little bookshelf there and split the take with the thrift store 50/50.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not mean.
Go ahead.
I like the idea of offering to local businesses in Oconee County the opportunity to partner with Friends of the Library to sell the books. I think that, at least the times that I've been to Friends of the Library sales that they've had, generally the clientele are people that are located in this area that want to acquire some books, and not being able to have access to the sales that they're having, I'm sure is, keeping them from being able to get some titles that they want. And I think it would help local businesses in the area, maybe attract some people to come to the store and maybe make some extra money for the library. If someplace, any kind of store in Oconee County that wanted to sign up for that, maybe they could partner with that too and bring in a shelf or something to that extent, like you were saying. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, not, and it could be even like restaurants that are doing takeaway and that sort of thing. You go in, you pick up your barbecue, you pick up a James Patterson book that you haven't read.
Well, I will definitely mention that to Jean.
Yeah, it's just a thought, because I have no idea how the actual mechanics of it all would work out, but it's just.
Well, and I think that was honestly the original idea that she had or they had behind going to M. Tannery, is because that was some place besides just, even before all this with the pandemic, that was another place that they could, have some books available. So I think they'd be, possibly be receptive to something like that.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so we have pretty much, we don't really do committee reports anymore.
No.
Because we don't really do committees anymore. And so this leads us on to Chairman's report, which is, there's really nothing much to say. I think that donating masks and having drop-off spots for masks, like you wrote about in your email, that's wonderful. And so on to the director's report.
All right. And I will say, I don't know about the other branches yet because I haven't really checked on them, but I do know that we've at least gotten one donation of some really nice homemade masks there at the Wahal Ranch, and I know there's some more coming in. We have several folks in the library that they have somebody related to them that's making some. And then we've had some other people say, "Oh, that's a great idea. I'll drop some off." So we've only received one nice package of them yet. They had like Pokemon characters on them. They were very nice. But we will be getting some more, I'm sure. And like I said, I haven't checked with the branches yet because we do have a box at every branch. So I don't know if they've received a lot of donations yet or not. But I think we'll see that pick up. We'll probably do another round of alerting people. That's a kind of a partnership with DHEC, and also they've been putting out to their sources that we're doing it, so I anticipate we'll get more. But also, we may run another round of on our social media and stuff, hey, we're doing this, see if we can get some more in. Just very quickly, I will mention to you a couple of things. We have been working, since we've been open again, I've been working on some grants, both with the South Carolina State Library and also the ALA. We were awarded a grant from the State Library, of course, for summer reading, and we've been working through that. That's what created the Storytime kits that you all saw recently. Those things have literally been flying out of the library. We're actually looking for a resource to create more of them because they've been so popular. And of course, our literacy kits have been very popular, and I'm sure with school, being in some things being up in the air with school, those will also be very popular again. But we did get a grant from the South Carolina State Library for some MiFis. We have 20 MiFi units that they have the data already purchased and everything. The state library pays for that. We have 2 years of that, I believe. So we are, myself and Darcy Arnold, the Youth Services Librarian, we're going to be working with the school district to figure out the best way, because these are set up specifically for education. They have filters for social media and things so that they can really only be used for education. It's not something we would loan to the public per se. but we received this under the CARES Act for homework help. So we're gonna work with the school district to identify who should get these, whether it's a small study group or individual families or whatever that are really in need, and see if we can get these 20 MiFis loaned out. We also have what's called a Cradle Point, and that is a MiFi for our bookmobile. Even though we haven't been running the bookmobile, we are about to start back to some limited routes starting in August. So August 4th is our first one. We'll be going to Long Creek. It'll be pick up and drop off only. No one will be allowed on the bookmobile except for library staff. People can put holds on and pick up their holds at that stop, or if, Ms. Brenda Lee, who's our bookmobile and outreach manager, if she knows them pretty well and they ask her for something that might be on the bookmobile, she can go on, or her volunteer can go on and get it. But it'll be pick up, drop off only. We'll have a table set up outside. They can turn their books into a crate. They'll pick up what they've asked for and they're on their way. No one will be on the bookmobile. But we are also going to advertise, now that we have this Cradle Point, if we can get it set up on the bookmobile, we're going to advertise that while we're at that stop, there's also Wi-Fi available. Because our little Wi-Fi unit that we use to get the computer on the bookmobile, I think only allows like 8 connections. This Cradle Point allows up to 100.
Oh,
So we could even eventually set it up with the school district to see if we can go someplace with this thing and set up for, have a time available. Even if we're not running a stop, we could have a time available where we could make that Wi-Fi available. So we are going to work with the school district both on the distributing the MiFis and also how best we can make use of the Cradle Point in addition to some of our regular routes. We have modified the route a little bit. That's available on our website. It's already up. We have moved it to where we only have a few of our routes because most of the nursing homes still don't want her to come except for drop-off only. So there are some days where she's not going out, but she'll take the library van and just drop off at the nursing home or at that particular location. And we have a couple of established stops. We really wanted to try to keep some of the stops that we had further out, like Long Creek, Fairplay, so that, those people that it's harder for them to come into the library, we can start bringing to them again, with the understanding that it's pick up and drop off and not, they're not gonna be able to come on board. So we'll start that in August, and then pretty much we're gonna go by month. We usually would do 3 schedules a year. We do January to April, May to August, and September to December. But we don't wanna go out more than a month right now, not knowing, what's gonna happen. So bookmobile will be started back. We also received a $1,000 grant from the state library for COVID, CARES Act grant for them to reimburse us for some PPE and other things, so we'll be able to buy more masks to be able to hand out. We'll be able to buy more, maybe even more sneeze guards for some, maybe one for the bookmobile if we can figure out how to let people back on there eventually, that kind of stuff. So we got $1,000 for that. We also got $2,000 from the American Library Association for Census Outreach, because the census is going to go through October. And they are still getting enumerators in place and hired and whatever here in Oconee County. And we're still at only about 60% response rate.
oh,
So in August, they'll be sending out another round of cards and all saying, hey, if you haven't done this yet still, we know COVID, we know, so on. But, now's a great time to respond. Please don't let these federal dollars, get away and whatever. And then we will also be using this $2,000. We're gonna probably try to do some outreach with the bookmobile. We had, initially when I put that grant in, the whole idea is that we were gonna take the bookmobile out and let people do their census while we were at a stop. And then, March came and COVID happened and, well, that was the end of that. But we are gonna see if we can't, use the bookmobile, maybe have, while they're doing drop-off or whatever, we can have another table further over where they might be able to, or even have an iPad where we can have a volunteer out there and people can just do drive-by census like they do drive-by COVID testing. And we may buy some T-shirts for the staff to be able to wear, hey, support the census, libraries and census, you can't have one without the other, because obviously we get so much of our funding from census data. So we're gonna use that $2,000 for something like that. We are still working on some of the, using up some of the Nettles money. But we received, I think I might have mentioned this in the last meeting, but we received kind of a nice surprise. It's a sad thing in that our longtime librarian in Seneca, Betty DeBose, passed away recently. But her family and the Friends of the Library are going to donate enough money for us to put a new service desk at the Seneca Library.
Yes. Yay.
The nice thing about that is that freed up more of the Nettles money to be able to do some of these other projects. We are currently working right now, I've got designs from the guy and a quote. We're working to put a couple of study rooms at our Seneca location, like what we have in our Walhalla location. So when we can open those back up for individual study and small meetings and stuff, once we feel safe doing that again, we'll have those in Seneca. We are gonna start working also on a new service desk for Walhalla, and that'll come out of some of that Nettles money as well. We also did receive sort of a nice thing. There was a gentleman, had been a patron of Seneca for a while, Joseph Guy, G-U-Y. He passed away recently. One of his daughters is Jody Gallin, who used to be on our board, our library board, a few years back. They have set up, the wife had asked, we got a call from the funeral home, the wife had asked that any donations, instead of flowers or whatever, come to the library, and we're gonna buy Westerns with those. He really liked like Westerns and Western stories. So far, we've gotten over $400
Wow.
in donations in memory of Mr. Guy. So we're currently working on that. We sent out some thank you letters. We'll be sending out some more thank you letters soon and be letting the family know about those donations. But they have requested that we buy Westerns with those, and we'll be doing that here very shortly. So we've been, trying to stay involved in the community as much as we can, and still get out and look for ways to, bring money in, grants and stuff. Like I said, we're not gonna have as much income from the Friends. But we are pretty lucky right now that, the library has built up a lot of goodwill, and people still think of us, even with all this stuff going on right now, for donations and other things. So we feel like we're in pretty good shape with that.
That's wonderful. The generosity of people never fails to amaze me. So now we go on to old business, automatic renewals and staff parking lot at Walhalla Library.
Okay, we've been discussing automatic renewals for a while, but we were kind of on the fence about doing it. For the main thing is just that it does have some implications for our fine income. Well, quite frankly, since we didn't take any fines in from March until, beginning 1 July, that's been kind of a moot point. We feel like automatic renewals, it will artificially increase our circulation statistics a little bit because, the items will just automatically renew. But right now, especially when people don't want to come out as much and that kind of thing, we feel like that's going to be a very good service to offer people. Really, honestly, a lot of the libraries, you'll note I put on here that a lot of the libraries where they have seen a temporary reduction in fine income, eventually it's kind of caught back up. Not that we want to make any money on fines, but, the county does have its needs as well, and we are asked to bring in some income for fines. We've already waived all the fines on children's items, you all did that earlier, but we feel like automatic renewals, the pluses in terms of good staff and public relations, the fact that people won't have to come out as much, and the fact that, they won't have to remember to do these things, we feel like that far outweighs any temporary loss of fine income or, that it'll skew our statistics slightly. In fact, right now, with as few circulations as we're doing compared to last year, it might be nice to actually have a boost in our statistics. So, the staff is recommending that we go ahead and finally put that in place. That became available to us earlier this year in an update to our cataloging system. So really, it's just basically flip a switch. If you decide to pass it tonight, we'll probably wait a little bit to let some of the materials catch up. Like, we'll turn it on, but we won't necessarily make a big deal out of it, so that it won't be like people automatically thinking, well, my stuff, it can't retro is the one thing. Like, if we turn it on tomorrow, it's not going to catch anything except what's checked out from tomorrow on. So we want to give it a little time for people to understand that it's coming and that kind of thing. So, but the staff's recommendation is that we do allow us to turn on automatic renewals.
Okay, shall we make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is that would you like us to make a motion to turn on
Yeah.
automatic? Okay,
I'll
you
make
make
a
a motion, I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion is passed unanimously. Okay? And then, pardon me, How are things going with the staff parking lot and the trees and?
Based on our, what came out of the last meeting, I did a little looking into it, but we really do not, at this time, at least that I can see in the questions that I've asked of county staff, we do not have an alternative site. It's not gonna be feasible to look at across Chestnut Street or down behind the library on South Broad. Those two sites are just not, they don't, those are actually city sites, and they're not gonna be interested in.
I actually spoke with some people at the city, and the city would be interested in possibly exploring that.
They would?
They would, yes.
Okay.
And,
Wonderful.
well, I mean, that was just one member of, of the city I spoke to. They do have some sway there, but that would be something they'd be open to if we have an issue with the trees, which I know we were otherwise.
I'll be honest, I have not heard anything back from Kyle with, the continuing work that they're doing to, clear in Seneca and other places with the, tornado from back in April and stuff and other things, projects that they're doing right now. I have not heard back from Kyle. He was gonna try to talk to the gentleman from the South Carolina Department of Transportation as far as if they could go ahead and do a cut-in on Westview after all, instead of having to go around on Chestnut and worry about the trees. But I haven't heard back from Kyle. They've been pretty busy with.
And with the city, I did talk with a member there who also talked about something they could possibly do on Westview. So with permission of the board, I'd like to continue to pursue that and give a report maybe next meeting on what the city and whatnot would be willing to do.
Okay, I make a motion that we give Cliff permission to talk with the city of Walhalla about what they can possibly do. Any seconds?
Second.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye? Aye, okay,
Who
motion's
was the
passed.
second? Kelly?
Kelly.
That would be great if you can, if you could, and if worse comes to worse, maybe with the State Department of Transportation, we could see about having that road made a one-way street.
Well, that was actually something, and, I don't want to speak out of turn here because I was off the record with the city people I talked to, but I'll certainly now, with some authority, speak with them on this
Yeah,
and see what I can do. But I think that would be a great idea to make that a one-way street there. There's one residence that has a driveway there, and it's actually down towards the, I guess the Pine Street side. And, they could certainly make something work with them. I believe that they'll have to talk with them, and that's something that has to go in front of, the State Department of Transportation. But the city was very keen on helping us.
yeah, because saving those trees would be,
It'd be great.
is the optimum
It'd be
thing.
great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so we have apparently new business. It looks like a whole cavalcade of new business, starting
Right.
with changes to the collection development process policy concerning DVD acquisition.
All right, very quickly, when Robina Barton was still here, former technical services librarian, she had gotten us to sort of revamp and improve our collection development policy so that it was more streamlined, made a little more sense for the staff and was easier for cataloging. But one of the places that we really couldn't find examples from other libraries and that people kind of had struggled with already, because there's not as many hard and fast rules for audiovisual, was like DVDs and stuff. We really struggled with that, so we just kind of left that alone. We came up with a policy for the printed materials and also audiobooks because, for books, you have sort of the recognized sources and reviews and all that sort of stuff. But in the meantime, especially while we have been down a technical services librarian, cataloging some of these really oddball things like a double feature or more than 6 discs. We don't even have cases for those and stuff. And for a while, everybody had sort of been playing by what we had said, verbal rules, please don't do these things. But, people get in a hurry and, want to order certain things, and a patron asks you for something and you want to just go ahead and get it. So to make the technical services staff a little more comfortable with, being able to kind of enforce the rules, and also to let our managers feel more comfortable in knowing what they have the latitude to get and what we'd rather they not get, we just wanted to sort of beef up the, collection development policy for audiovisual in the same way that we had already done for books. So whereas before, we basically said the only criteria were quality of production, reputation of performers, and ease of access, we have now gone on and said that it really does need to have some sort of reviews on either Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, something like that, some recognized source for video. And then we've also put, a few other things in there, like no awkward packaging, no more than 6 discs and whatever. And, this will make it a little easier for technical services to feel comfortable saying this is what we'd really like to get and this is what we'd rather not. Doesn't really have anything much to do with content. We're not censoring anything or anything except, with the obvious things. 3D movies, for instance, would be a real problem for us to catalog because that's still such a new thing, and most people don't even have a player at home that can play that. So we just want to sort of make it to where there's a little bit more, specific criteria for ordering in the DVDs in the same way that we had already changed the collection development policy for printed materials. So we're just recommending that we, put these additional criteria in place, both for the help of technical services and also the comfort of the staff that does the ordering.
I see no problem with the acquisition of DVDs, with the policy that you have outlined here on our proposed changes and stuff. I make a motion that we accept the new policy, the enhanced policy, basically, for acquisition of DVDs. Can we get any seconds?
I'll second.
You'll second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, so the motion is passed. And then we have changes to the library policy for those under 18.
All right, and this in part came out of some discussions with the South Carolina State Library, particularly the youth services consultant, Rebecca Antle. She and Darcy Arnold discussed some of these things, and also we've been talking for a while about adding a card in some way that maybe teenagers that, they're gonna come in on their own and they don't have the parents there and they wanna apply for some kind of card to be able to use some material. So what Darcy has proposed, what we'd like to do is have a electronic materials only, and an adult could use that card, like if they'd only really ever want to check out electronic materials and not, need access to the physical materials. An adult can get it. But, one of the things that always kind of stopped us from allowing under 18 to sign up for a card on their own is the financial responsibility of those materials. But if we have an electronic only card, which means they can use Overdrive, they can use our electronic resources and our databases and stuff, but they're not taking out physical materials, then we could allow them to sign up for that on their own. And what we're proposing is that we will send a postcard to the parent that says, your child has applied for this card. These are the things that they can do. If you want them to have a full privilege card where they can check out books or DVDs or whatever, then you just need to come in and show us your ID and give us that approval. But otherwise, they will have, through this card, the ability to check out the ebooks or, only do the electronic materials. And we figure that's really gonna help this year, especially with who knows what the schools are gonna be having to do. This will provide an additional resource for the, high school, because we're really keeping this to high school age. They'll have to come in and show us their school ID and get the card, and then they'll have access to electronic materials. And then if a parent wants to change it to full privileges, to have, check out books and DVDs and whatever, they can. But, the child can come in without the parent and be able to at least use electronic resources. We will be notifying the parents that they're, gonna have this card, and then that's up to them if they want them to have full privileges or just use the electronic card. But we feel that way, the high school kids, they'll have better access to electronic materials, because we've been adding a lot of, like, the school reading list, titles and that kind of thing in Overdrive, so we feel like that'll give them an additional resource. And they won't have to have a parent or guardian come in, because in some cases, they probably won't get a parent to come in and sign up for them. So that's something that the state library has kind of been recommending in youth services, and we figure that at least give us a start if we want to eventually go to a restricted juvenile card where they maybe can check out some materials. There are libraries like Spartanburg and some of the other ones that do that, but we wanted to just start with electronic materials first, so there wasn't that level of responsibility for physical items, and then, we might be able to move to, something later depending on how it works. But especially with this school year being so up in the air, we wanted to see if, give this a shot, and it was a good time to do it. So the staff is recommending that we allow electronic borrowing 14 to 17, that they can come in and sign up on their own.
My question is, have you developed a policy for what you would do if a parent came in and said that they objected to their child having an electronic card that would enable them to access Overdrive and?
Honestly, that's the reason for the postcard, because we don't deliberately have objectionable material in Overdrive, but if somebody found something objectionable in Overdrive, in that case, we would just convert it to like a juvenile restricted card. We have a juvenile restricted card now where they're only allowed to check out they can't get DVDs, and they wouldn't be able to get full privileges in the electronic and all. So, in that case, if a parent came in and objected, we would just, with their request, we would convert the card to, that other card. So they just wouldn't have the, ability to check those things out.
Okay.
And that's why the postcard, because really that was one of the things Darcy thought about, is somebody objects to them having access to some material in Overdrive, then we could handle that. If they come in with this card and they say, no, I don't want, my kid signed up for this, I didn't know anything about it, I don't want them to do this, we just convert it to the juvenile card, and that's it.
Okay.
They won't have access to that stuff then.
Yeah. Well, I can see no problem with doing this. How would you all, have a question?
No, I just think it's great.
It's a good idea.
I think it's great, yeah. And it also encourages teenagers to start thinking about when they turn 18 and they can get their own card.
Well, and that's it too, and when we sign them up, the literature will say, if you want to get your parent to come in, maybe the parent just they kind of go do their own thing. It's not that the parent's absent or something, but if they want to come in and sign them up for a regular card, we have the juvenile unrestricted, that they can come in and check out certain movies and, whatever. So if they want them to have an unrestricted card, they can. Or if the parent never wants to come in or whatever, if they're okay with the kid having this card and they get the postcard, then we just leave it as electronic. And then they convert it to a regular. They'll just have to come in at age 18 and show us that they, their ID, and they can convert it to a regular card with full borrowing privileges.
Excellent. Well, would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve this.
I second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you have another question, Cliff?
No, I was just voting.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so the motion is carried. And then update about COVID-19.
No real action item here, just wanted to, let you all know that, since we've been open, we reopened on June 15th for in-person service, and right now our hours are still 10 to 4, Monday through Friday. We anticipate keeping those hours probably through August, because schools will not start until very late August, so we don't really anticipate trying to change the hours. Frankly, with the extra things that we're having to do in terms of cleaning and monitoring and, that kind of thing, whatever, it'd be very hard for us to have some staff have to take a weekday off or part of a weekday off to cover the weekend. So, we're kind of taking it slow, seeing how things go and stuff with staff, usage and staff needs and all, before we start moving to trying to put in any weekend or evening hours again. We know there may be a demand for that once school starts because of, they may not be in school as much or whatever, but we kind of want to,
Ruh-roh.
if we lose,
Yeah, it's making weird noises.
It has a poor connection.
You can keep going. Okay.
Oh, yay! welcome back.
Apologize for that, trying to get our,
We were worried about you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
really? Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
It's okay, I can still hear fine.
Okay.
Oh. It's okay.
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 Yay.
Okay. Okay. Don't touch that. Okay.
We're almost done. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
good.
All
We're
right.
almost done.
thank you.
So, does anybody have anything else that they would like to discuss, bring up, talk about, complain about, worry over? Anything of that sort? Because if not, I believe that we have reached a point where it would be possible for us to put a cork in it and call it sealed.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn, indeed.
Second.
I make a
So
motion,
moved.
second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, go home, y'all.